Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today we've got a video in our Collecting a Battalion series. And so before we get into the main video, let's have a chat about what this series is all about and what we are hoping to achieve with it. So to do so, I think it's best that we explain what a War Scroll Battalion is, first of all. A War Scroll Battalion is a special formation comprised of various units that by taking will give you access to additional abilities for the units inside said War Scroll Battalion in-game. Why are we doing what we are doing? So, collecting a battalion can be a great way to collect to a theme. It gives you a goal to strive towards and an endpoint to reach. By doing so, you can get bonuses for playing with models that thematically go together and a chance potentially to try out models you might not otherwise take because they might not be optimal outside of the battalion. What's the plan with this series though? And so what we're going to do is we're going to try and build an army focusing around the battalion. We're going to thematically build upon the battalion if required. Some battalions don't make up a full 2,000 point army, so we're going to expand upon them thematically, and we will also give ourselves a framework to set an end goal within. So with that all out the way, let's get into the meat of this and we'll go into the video proper right now. So today we're going to talk about a Cities of Sigmar battalion, and so before we get into that battalion, let's talk a little bit about how battalions work in Cities of Sigmar. To start with, all battalions in Cities of Sigmar are specific to a particular subfaction. In Cities of Sigmar, you cannot choose to not be from one of the 7 subfactions provided in the book, and all of them lock you to using a particular realm for realm artifacts, etc. We are going to be looking at the subfaction Hammerhal today, and we're going to be looking at using the battalion Hammerhalian Lancers. So as you can see in the organisation, this battalion is only available to Hammerhal because all the units in the battalion require the Hammerhal keyword. So let's get looking into the organisation of this battalion before we get into anything else. First of all, you need 1 Hammerhal Free Guild General on Griffin. You then must also take 3 to 6 units of Hammerhal Demi-Griffin Knights. So we can already start to see the theme building from this, and it's really a cavalry charging sort of army we're going to be looking for. Really sort of in your face and getting in your opponent's deployment zone and smashing them up in combat. And this goes really well with Hammerhal, as we can actually get double pile-ins if we're fighting in enemy territory. It's always worth remembering with Hammerhal that it's territory, not board half, and many battalions don't actually have the whole half of the board as your opponent's territory. It's just something to look at, and especially worth considering when you're taking an army to a tournament, etc. Looking at the particular battle plans that you'll be using, whether or not Hammerhal is going to be usable to its maximum effect. The other benefit of Hammerhal is that we are immune to battle shock in our own territory, and that's really good because we don't have very big units and we don't want to be losing anything to battle shock, so it's really important that we can hold our own in our own deployment zone. The abilities that we get from said battalion though is we can add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made by melee weapons from units from this battalion that made a charge move in the same turn, and a whole within 18 inch of the Free Guild General on Griffin from the same battalion. So this is just buffing up those demi-griffs and using the Griffin as sort of a centralised buff piece for the force. It's really cool as it makes the demi-griffs quite effective in combat, and they already have a pretty mean sort of profile when you start looking at them to begin with. But we'll get into them in a second, and we'll go through the army list, and as we do we'll sort of talk a little bit about how we plan to play this army. So obviously, we're going to be playing Cities of Sigmar, we're in Hammerhal, and we're going to choose to be from the realm of fire. Hammerhal is interesting in that it's the only city in the book that actually gets a choice, but it still only gets the choice between 2 realms. Hammerhal, lore-wise, is known as the Twin City, or the Twin-Tailed City, and it effectively spans either side of 2 different realm gate, and so it's in both the realm of life and the realm of fire. It's really quite cool, lore-wise. It's really fantastic, and so you can sort of take this inspiration and use it to build your army as well, to taking an army that's from 2 realms instead of 1. But let's get looking into the list, and so we're going to be taking a Free Guild General on Griffin as obviously required by the battalion. He's going to be our general. He's going to take the command trait Blood of the 12, which gives him an aura buff of rerolling 1s to wound, which is really cool. Rerolls to wound are always welcome. He's also going to have the artifact Ignax's Scales. We want him to be that little bit more survivable. You could choose to go and give him the armor artifact. It gives you a +1 save from the specific Hammerhalian artifacts, but I think Ignax's Scales does it more use because otherwise he just gets taken out by mortal wounds too easily, and we really need him alive, not only as a piece to be using for damage on his own in his own right, but also to make sure those demigryphs are getting the buffs from the battalions. If he falls, this whole army could crumble quite easily. We're then going to take a Knight Azeros, and he's going to have the artifact the Twinstone, which is going to allow a bit of healing in the army, and also he's going to be giving a reroll 1s to hit to our units in the army, which is really cool because we're going to get those demigryphs down to 2s. We're then going to take the Celestant Prime. I think he's a really solid choice to take in an army that's from Hammerhalian. If you can keep him up in the sky for a couple of turns, he's going to get an extra 4 attacks, and he's going to come down and absolutely smash face with a double pile-in on his own terms. This is really good as we're going to get multiple uses out of the Celestant Prime, and hopefully you can take a couple of units off the table with this, because generally he's a bit of a glass cannon. He can do a lot of damage, but that can be quite easily taken off. He's only got a 3-up save and 8 wounds. For our battle line though, and this is pretty simple, and this is pretty much the whole army, we're going to take 6 units of 3 Demigryph Knights. Now, the common question that's going to be asked about Demigryph Knights is, what do you equip them with? And well, I'm going to go from my own experiences, and I'm going to shout out for Lancers. Personally, I think Lancers are better, especially in this whole army where the idea is to be charging as much as possible. Your Demigryphs should not be getting in protracted fights that they can't win. And if they aren't, they should be getting in smartly and tying enemy units up to stop them moving around the battlefield. I think the Lancers are the better options, and yes, they are 4s to wound. However, the reroll 1s to wound could potentially come in our favour. They're actually going to be on the charge 2s and 3s, rerolling 1s to wound, as so long as they're near that Freegal General and Griffin, which they should be. So that's generally my choice, because on the charge, the Lancers have a range characteristic of -2 instead of dash, and they damage 2 instead of 1. I really think this is the better choice for the Demigryphs in this particular army list. The Demigryphs themselves can also pack out some mortal wound usage as well, which is really cool. But overall, it's just going to be getting them in and getting them to smash face on your opponent's units. And if you need stuff that's a little bit tough to die, that's what your Celestant Prime is for. This whole army wants to move and wants to play fast. Now, I understand that we are a 3-drop army, and there will be armies that outdrop us and get to activate before this army. So we're going to need to use some interesting tactics with the Demigryphs. Realistically, I think we only need 3 units of Demigryphs on the board to be doing some serious damage. Now, if we are going to have to screen against enemy armies, what you can do is deploy your Demigryphs in a way that protects them. The size of the Demigryph's base makes them excellent screens for other Demigryphs. And using that, so what you do is you line up your 3 Demigryphs sideways and then place your other 3 Demigryphs in a narrow column behind, this way screening them and not allowing opponents to get around the board. You could potentially use 2 units of Demigryphs like this, and this will allow you to protect most of your force, and potentially 3 depending on how your opponent's got. But smart deployment means you can stop any alpha strikes sort of happening against you, and the abilities with the Celestant Prime still in the sky at this point means your opponent can't be too aggressive, otherwise they leave their backfield open for the Celestant Prime to absolutely wreak havoc. But that's all there really is to this list. It's just a fun sort of one-trick pony list realistically, but I think it'd be great fun to play. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. But thank you all for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this first video in the series, and I hope we can continue to provide you with more and better videos in this series. If you've got any thoughts or ideas, or even some comments to make about anything you saw in this video, please leave them down in the description below. It's very much appreciated. I hope I can use this to sort of help everyone out that little bit and get everyone's campaigns off to a great start and continuing to be fantastic things for both GM and player alike. Don't forget to like the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Every subscription helps, and every like helps other people find the channel. And thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Special thanks are in order for all of those people who help us out by supporting the channel financially on Patreon. Those are our Sinful Guard Militia, Christian Weir, Philip Ward and Dwight Crow, as well as the Sinful Free Guild Regiment member James. You guys are all amazing, and thank you so much for your support. We'll continue to put out more content like this and on other subjects on the channel, and we hope you'll support us in the future as well as now. Thank you once again. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting the war against the Grey. We'll see you again real soon.